And President Trump and Xi Jinping are meeting in South Korea just less than an hour to go, or almost an hour to go. And we have with us from Hudson Institute, Bill Drexel. Bill, thank you so much for joining. First things first, you know, President Trump just announced a trade deal with South Korea. I mean, can we expect a similar, kind of a deal announced, a trade deal specifically, when the two leaders meet in South Korea today?
Well, I think that's the question on everyone's mind, and it's by far the biggest trade deal that the world is watching, and the biggest, probably the most difficult to get done. And I think it's a different question entirely if something can get done that sticks. If we look back to first trade war, Trade War One with Trump, it kind of was resolved, but kind of didn't, and COVID basically kind of ran away with the story, and there's a lot that's left unfinished. Both leaders are known to walk away from deals that they don't like. So the jury is out first if a deal will come, and second if it'll be able to stick.
You know, President Trump has said a lot of things since, from campaign trail to after getting elected the second time, and also flaunted his relationship with Xi Jinping. When both the leaders meet finally, and Xi Jinping has not said a lot, what do we expect to see when the leaders meet today?
The range is wide. My expectation is that both leaders do want some sort of meeting. So probably things will start relatively warm, but there is a lot on the table and very high stakes for both, even beyond the economy. So we're going to have to see where it goes.
And in terms of, what can the US expect in terms of getting in return? Like messaging is very important to both the leaders, and also more important, I think, for President Trump. We have farmers asking about, when can China start buying, their products, the rare earth elements. What is a win-win situation, especially or win situation for President Trump? What would he like to at least walk away? Because he's also extending invitation to Xi Jinping to come to the US, and also said that he wants to go back, like go to China on a state visit. So, what would be a positive message that he can bring back home and sell it to the Americans?
Well, I think he could go a lot of ways with this. A positive message would certainly be some sort, a trade deal that looks favorable, that somehow preserves access to critical minerals at this time, while also allowing what Americans see as favorable terms. But there are other factors too. For example, he's talked about trying to get Jimmy Lai, the imprisoned kind of Hong Kong activist, out of prison. China actually arrested the kind of the 2023 of the church leadership of one of China's largest and most influential churches just 2.5 weeks before these negotiations. And that's been making a major stir in the United States, in part because all three of the head pastor's children, are American citizens. One of whom, incidentally, is my wife. So a lot of these things can get very personal, and so people are hoping that people will be released. People are hoping for favorable trade terms. There's a lot of hope going in, and a very difficult set of circumstances to try to get a deal out.
There's this word that was used in the last administration, strategic competition. We don't see the use of that word. I mean, how do you define the US and China relationship right now?
I think that, at a minimum, it's strategic competition. These countries are really locked in a battle for uh, advantage that will be determinative of the decades ahead. And both see it that way. Both are very clear who their greatest threat is, and see it as really, in some ways, existential.
Okay. And last question, the T word, Taiwan, how do you think, President Trump would handle the issue of Taiwan? I mean, there have always been talks about China eventually will annex Taiwan. I mean, how do you think, that topic will feature when both the leaders meet today?
That's another big question hanging in the air for everyone. The United States has had a very consistent posture towards Taiwan for a very long time. And that said, President Trump is a very unconventional president. So a lot of people are wondering if we're going to see some major developments here. That
Okay.
said, too, it's worth noting that the importance of Taiwan strategically extends far beyond what most people realize in terms of what it would mean for Japan, what it would mean for South Korea, and really what it would mean for the future of global order. So, again, we might see changes, we might not. Even if we see changes, whether or not they'll stick is another question because Taiwan is a really kind of critical issue for the decades ahead.
And I did say the last question, but one more question before I could let you go. Uh, President Trump has also said he will discuss the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. A lot of people in the world are looking at this meeting, including those in New Delhi. What do you expect President Trump to discuss when it comes to that war in Europe?
He's been very clear. He wants it to come to an end. That's a very high policy priority for him. He feels that Vladimir Putin has betrayed him, and he wants he wants he wants resolution quickly. So we're very likely to see pressure on that front. How it'll land is unclear. China is deeply backing Moscow in that conflict. So again, that's another very high stakes.
All right. Thank you so much, Bill, for joining us. We'll keep an eye on what's going to happen. The meeting will start in less than an hour, as I said, and then we will know what the leaders discussed, and we'll have you back on to discuss what happened at the Asia trip and also specifically this meeting. Bill Drexel from Hudson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.